Welcome back to my channel, King Toddy here for another vlog. And again, we're at the Ricoh Arena, but this time for the UK Open, one of the biggest festivals on the yearly schedule. And I've actually got unfinished business at this specific event. I finished 10th in the main last year and 12th in the high roller. So watch the video and find out how I got on this year. I hope you enjoy it. So back at the Ricoh Arena, the venue that has been so kind to me over the past 18 months. And we arrived on the Monday. Shout out Alex Montgomery, charging ahead here, probably to make a cup of tea. And we was playing the mini main. 20k start stack, got off to a good start before getting it in on the turn here with top two pair against a lower two pair. They've got two outs, which for those that don't know is around a 5% chance of happening. And bang, there it was, six in a river, GG, and it was to the rebuy. So we was back in 420k, and before we knew it, we had run it up big time. Here I think I have around 140k, and this was due to my lucky citrine that I brought out. We found a bag on this flight, 90k in the end, lost a few pots at the end of the day, but we'll take it. So finding a bag on that first day of the trip did mean some downtime the following day, and there really isn't much to do in Coventry, so the only option was to head to the local David Lloyd. And as you can see here, proof of me in the gym and actually further proof of me working out, which is some achievement, like a true pro. As tradition, grabbed a quick Starbucks en route to day two and we were straight in there. But unfortunately, shortly after the start of day two, I ran nines into kings for 18 blinds. So we busted just short of the money here. As you can see, for a £340 tournament, the prizes were insane. There was nearly 1,000 runners. And shout out to Sam Goodman, who actually ended up coming seventh for making a really deep run here. So congrats to him. No rest for the wicked though. I was straight into the next event, PLO 456. So that's a mix of 4 cards, 5 cards, and 6 cards. And it's actually an event I've had a pretty good record at. No change here. Ran it up again and secured a cash. Unfortunately, the bubble was a bit brutal. I did lose a lot of chips around the bubble, just having to fold. So you'll see here I had a pretty short stack. But as soon as the bubble burst, I ran it up from around 30k to over 500k in one blind level. And suddenly was one of the chip leaders in the room. Crazy. And we rode that stack all the way through to the final table. As you can see here, first final table pick of the week, first experience of the feature table. Morale was high. And we actually laddered really well here. We ended up coming third for just over 4k, which was a great result. And all it was, I sat there, let everyone bust each other out before finally get it in and lost when I was all in. But we will take it. A deep run, a third place finish, and a good start. Pretty good start to the trip. So the following day, we actually had further experience of playing on the feature table. We had bagged the Six Max Championship online before the festival, and the final table was played live in Coventry. So you'll see here another bag, and this was from the online event. But unfortunately, I came in 6 of 6 and ended up busting 6th. So not much to show for that. The beauty of a big festival like this, as soon as you bust one event, it's straight into the next, and that's no different here. Straight into the 2k high roller, and what a day we had. It was a 100k start stack, and I just sun run, to be honest. I went from 100k all the way up to bagging over 800k. Very much helped by having kings against aces, hitting a king. I had flush over flush. I won a big flip, like really just a day of dreams. And we bagged second in chips to start day two of the high roller. So morale was very high at this point. So back now for day two of the high roller, and the prizes were confirmed. Fantastic turnout, nearly 80,000 to the winner. And we actually was straight onto the feature table once again on day two. So the following footage is going to be from the feature table. So we actually ended up playing a very, very spicy hand at the start of day two. Here you'll see I defend the big blind against button with queen 6 suited, standard. On the 993 flop with a flush draw, we see a 25% c-bet, and I choose to raise 3x with my flush draw. Seems pretty standard, and our opponent calls. Turn is actually a 6, giving us some showdown. So I then decided to check, and we was faced with a 40% bet by our opponent, which of course we continued, and we see the 2 of hearts river completing a backdoor flush, backdoor straight. And once again we check. This is where the hand gets interesting. Our opponent has just over the size of the pot, and he chooses to bet around half of his stack, 40% of his stack. which I read into in game as a hand that was pretty confident they were winning, but wasn't one of the stronger hands in the range. So to explain that further, I think if they had one of the top hands in their range, say they had a 9, say they had a backdoor flush, or I think they would have gone for all of the chips. So when they bet this size, I concluded that they had worse than a 9. So I'm thinking 7s, 8s, 10s or better. That was what I had in my head. And I just thought these hands are in a really, really tough spot if I put the pressure on. And I was pretty confident my 6 was no good. So you'll see the reaction here of Jay.
Toddy.
And move the line.
Toddy just with the jam.
Look at this.
So yeah, as you can see, our opponent is in the blender using time bank after time bank. He doesn't know what to do. He's struggling to put me on a hand. And when I look back at this play, I don't love it. Although the principle was right of what I concluded, I think I just rep very thin. So for value, I'm basically saying the hands I could play in this way that are in the value part of my range are going to be 9-6 for top boat. That would make sense. Pocket 6s, I feel like I could play in this way, but would potentially bet the turn. So maybe there's a flaw in my story there. And then the only other hands that make sense would be 3x of hearts. So a hand that flop 2 pair, but needs quite a lot of protection. And then turns a flush draw, decides to check call, rivers the flush and goes to the check raise all in. But even then, that's quite a limited amount of hands. And you'll see in the end, my opponent did make the call. Sick call from my opponent. But yeah, spicy hand to start the day, but not one that went my way. But this was not the last time I'd clash with this opponent. I ended up on the outer table 4-bet jamming 8s against a cutoff open and a button 3-bet. And the original razor re-jammed, so we knew it was bad news. And as you'll see from the clip, they had aces. We need a lot of help.
Going to lose one this time.
Second in chips to start today. Toddy all in and at risk. He's going to need to crack the aces of Thomas Clack. Just like that.
Whoa, 8-3 queen, flop set of 8s.
8 on the flop. Toddy cracking the boots, still needing to fade. And there's a spade on the turn. It's not easy. Spades and aces to fade.
And does the king of hearts, so Toddy gets a huge double.
Yeah, big old double up there for Alex Todd. Cracked aces with kings yesterday, all in pre. Found a king on the flop. It's the pocket 8's turn today to crack the boots all in pre.
And they left Thomas Clack there with 50,000.
Better to be lucky than good, Tower, as they say.
Yep.
We then managed to find pocket queens and someone 4-bet jammed jacks for like 40 bigs. And we won a huge pot. And I think at this point, I was probably chip leader in the room. So after bluffing it off early in the day, I just activated the sun run and was cooking. But as much as the poker gods can give, they can quite equally take away, as you'll see in the next clip.
It's Toddy against Ravi. Hijack versus Cutoff. All in pre. 600k effective. Ravi with aces. Toddy with queens.
Spades not played. Aces. Top of the table. Ravi gets a double. That's Toddy back down to about 650k. And Ravi just shy of $1 million.
So now the footage you're watching, there is 11 players left and we are in the money. I'm one of the shortest stacks in the tournament. I think there's maybe 2 shorter stacks than me. It folds around to me in the small blind here, ace-7 offsuit. I've got just over 15 bigs. I think the only way to play the hand would be to jam. Don't think we want to limp and try and limp jam or limp call all in. I think jam's just going to perform best. So that's what I did. And our opponent has king jack off and a big stack, and they do eventually make the call. So we need to hold here. We are ahead. They do turn quite a few outs, and as you'll see by the river, unfortunately it came a king, and that was GG for us in 11th place. But another good run. We beat 12th that we come last year, even though by 1 place. So just have to wait for next year, and maybe I'll come in the top 10. So GG in the high roller, and it was time for the main event. $1 million guaranteed for a 1,500 buy-in. This is a massive one. and we didn't actually get off to a great start. So the footage you're going to see now is from the feature table, a couple levels into day one, I think it was. This one is a bit fruity, I will say, and rest in peace Doyle Brunson, because we do play the 10 deuce offsuit. Blind bit blind, it folds round to me, and I decided to ISO against an unknown opponent. Not a great choice of hand, but was just trying to go for it, make some footage for the stream, you know. So we did raise, and they do call, and we see an ace king x flop. We decide to c-bet, small size, and they do find the call. The turn comes a jack of spades, so queen 10 makes a straight. There's now a spade draw there as well. We do have the 10 of spades, which blocks queen 10 and also unblocks diamonds, which is nice because that's the hand they're going to continue with. So I decide to bet the pot on the turn, and our opponent is unfazed, makes the call again. So at this point, I'm like, okay, this is not great, but we're sort of here now. We're committed. So we've got pot back on the river, and it comes with brick. And I unload the clip. I'm all in. And as you'll see here, quite fortunately, our opponent only has a king, not an ace. So tough call for him. And after some time, he does make the fold. So we're back up to start stack or just above. Let's go. So after this pretty wild start to the main event, I did actually play some solid poker. I ran it up from 20k to around 70k at my peak, so I had a pretty decent stack. Unfortunately, though, I raised ace queen in the cutoff into the chip leaders big blind, and they rejammed. We put it in, and they had twos, and we lost the flip. So we actually busted our first bullet, which meant we had to fire the turbo flight in the evening. But fortunately, the turbo did the trick, and we bagged just over 2 starting stacks, which I was more than happy with off 2 bullets. And we came into day 2 with 70,000. So quite early into day 2 of the main event, you can see here the prizes we were playing for are crazy. Over 200,000 to the winner. And I was actually very lucky to start the day. I got in with ace queen suited against ace king and turned my opponent dead with a flush. So the sun run was still active, and this was enough to get me through into the money. I did go fairly card dead before the bubble and on the bubble, so got into the money with a fairly short stack. And you'll see here, I eventually got it all in with queens against ace 7 offsuit against a fairly well-known UK player, David Doherty. Shout out Dave. But he was luckier than me. Ace on the flop, and it was GG in the main event for a min cash. So another cash on the board. We did play one final tournament. We regged the cup on the Saturday, 50k start stack, and we found another bag, albeit a small one. And day 2 did not go great, to be honest with you. Very card dead and busted just short of the money for my final tournament of the trip. So the following screen, I'm going to break down all of my buy-ins, all of my cashes, and the profit and loss of the week, and let you know how it all went. Hope you've enjoyed it. So it was a good festival overall with 4 cashes. In total, I played 6 tournaments, fired 10 bullets, total buy-ins of 7.5k, and total cashes of just under 15k, for a profit of just over 7,000 on the festival. As you can probably tell, it's now night time by the time I finish editing this, so it does take me a long time to put these vlogs together, but if this is something you do enjoy, please subscribe, please give it a like, please give it a share, and I hope to bring you more vlogs just like this in the future. Thanks for watching.